Day 2 of Diddy's criminal trial was even more uncomfortable than the first. This time, it was Cassie's turn to testify. She entered the courtroom in a long brown dress, visibly 8 months pregnant. She didn't make eye contact with Diddy, no smile, no nod, just walked straight to the stand like she had been waiting for this moment for years. Maybe she had. Her voice was soft but steady. She didn't cry. She didn't tremble. She just told her story. And it was horrifying.
The jury had a whole night to process the disturbing details of these freak-offs that were laid out yesterday through the eyes of Cassie Ventura. The graphic details, the alleged abuse, the drug abuse. Today they didn't have to use their imagination, though. It got real in that courtroom today when the jurors, not the public, not the press, when the jurors saw still screenshots from these freak-offs. There was something so uncomfortable about the moment. Watching the jurors see something so raw and so personal in a courtroom full of eyes and full of opinions. Cassie was the most emotional we've seen her. At times even reflecting when she heard the words come out of her mouth, saying things like, "I can't believe I dealt with that." And you gotta understand, these aren't gigantic courtrooms. Cassie and Diddy are not at opposite ends of a football field. They are feet from one another. And the only thing between them really are their lawyers. And even though all eyes were on each of them, I don't think they ever looked directly at each other. Not when she walked by him, not when she was testifying, not when at times she broke down sobbing, remembering how she loved him and just wanted him to say sorry for the things that he had done. Now, when she talked about not wanting to live anymore, or her opioid addiction, or lying to her mother about the abuse, or when it started, or the extent of it, the audience was shifting uncomfortably. And sometimes, so did she.
Cassie said Diddy beat her, drugged her, isolated her, trafficked her, and recorded her having sex with male sex workers. Not once or twice, but over and over again. It happened in hotel rooms, in his homes, even while he watched. She said she eventually stopped fighting it and began to feel more like property than a person. She had no real friends, no support system, and no safe way out. She said Diddy filmed these encounters and sometimes showed her the footage to humiliate and control her. Other times, he used them as threats. He told her that if she left, those videos would ruin her. Earlier that day, one of the male escorts Diddy allegedly hired also testified. His name was Daniel Phillip. He said Diddy paid him thousands of dollars to sleep with Cassie while Diddy watched from the corner. He said Cassie looked terrified, like someone on autopilot. Afterward, he felt sick. He said it didn't feel consensual, even if technically it was.
She testified about having to hide under a toilet to get away from Diddy. She revealed getting a gash by her eyebrow after he threw it into a bed frame in front of her friends. She said she got stomped in the face on the floor of Diddy's Escalade for the duration of a ride home. And she claimed throughout their time together that she felt, powerless to make the choice to escape. Now, to make her point, Cassie talked about going to a hotel when Diddy beat her after a party in Los Angeles. She said she didn't want to stay, but felt she couldn't leave. She testified, quote, "It was not safe. I didn't have the resources I needed to get out and move, to get out and not have anybody stop me." Cassie went on to say, I understood Sean's capabilities, his access to guns, and the threats that he made prior to that. Cassie clarified her testimony from yesterday as well, saying that there were times that she did try to fight back or even initiated violence. She testified she did so earlier on in their relationship, but she quickly found out it could backfire, telling the prosecutors, quote, that it could escalate the fight more and make it worse for myself. When the prosecutor asked what she meant by that, Cassie said, quote, "Just make him more violent, make him stronger. Want to push me harder in that situation."
Daniel also said there was another time when he heard loud bangs and yelling from behind a closed door. A few minutes later, Cassie came out shaking, her face bruised. She didn't say anything, just looked at the floor and walked past him. The defense tried to argue that Cassie stayed for the money. They claimed she was an adult who could have left if she wanted to. But the prosecution pushed back, saying trauma isn't that simple. They said control doesn't always look like chains and locks. Sometimes it looks like luxury. Sometimes it looks like love that rots from the inside out.
Cassie also described the leverage, that's the word she used, leverage Diddy had over her. She said that leverage came in the form of blackmail. Those videos specifically of the freak-offs. She testified that Diddy threatened to release them when he got angry. Cassie said, quote, "One time I dated someone else, and that is what it was all about. I'm going to put out 2 embarrassing videos of you. He just wanted to hurt me." Now, Cassie's direct testimony is actually now over. The defense, though, they're going to get their chance to cross-examine her and go into the details again tomorrow morning. I want to begin with CNN entertainment correspondent Elizabeth Wagmeister, who you and I have been bosom buddies in this court. We've been sitting next to each other watching it all go down, and you have a unique perspective on all this and the coverage you've been doing. Talk to me, though, about the scope and of the violence and the intimidation that she laid out in court today.
Yeah, Laura, so as you said, her first day of testimony yesterday really focused on these freak-offs. Today focused on the physical abuse, the domestic violence. This was the first time that the jury saw photographic evidence of the injuries. You mentioned this gash on her eyebrow. We saw bruises all over her body, a black eye, a fat lip. I want to walk you through just some of the instances that Cassie brought up when she testified today. One time she said that she and her girlfriends, they went to Prince's party. Yes, the musician Prince. Diddy was there. He didn't know she was going to be there. He got angry and she said, quote, "He f***ed me up." She said that after they broke up in 2018, that he raped her in her living room at her home.
During her testimony, Diddy sat motionless. His arms were crossed, eyes fixed, and he occasionally scribbled something in his notebook, but he never looked away. Courtroom was completely silent when Cassie finished. No one clapped, no one whispered. Just the sound of her heels on the floor and the door closing behind her. Cassie was only 22 when Diddy first introduced her to what he called freak-offs. First, it sounded like some weird fantasy, but soon it became part of her regular life, one that made her feel used and worthless.
They're showing an incident from Toronto. She said she put her hair over her eye to hide a bruise, and then they went to the Hamptons. She said that Sean Combs wanted to then have a freak-off in the Hamptons, so they got a hotel and an escort. She said that the escort was named Dave. She took the drug GHB, and she went into a G-hole, which sounds like some type of blackout. She woke up, and she was naked in the shower, and Dave and Sean were freaking out. "I bugged out. It wasn't pretty," is what she said in the testimony. She said, "Then what?" Ventura responded, "I spoke to a friend of Sean's, and then we had a freak-off." And then they showed another photograph, and it shows her eyebrow that had healed up a little bit a week later, and she has a permanent scar on her eyebrow, she said, from this. And she is shown another photo from the Cannes Film Festival. She said Sean accused her of taking drugs from his boat and threw her off of the boat, but her passport was still on the boat. She was on the red carpet for some type of event that night, and she said she attended the movie. They then went to New York. There was a commercial flight that they took. She traded her seat to get away, but he traded to get next to her. What did he show you? Freak-off videos. So we've heard about this, him showing videos and then using that as kind of blackmail material, if you will. She said that he played the freak-off videos for me on one of his laptops. He said he would release them. So that's some pretty compelling evidence.
Before these events, Diddy had a checklist for Cassie. Her nails had to be done a certain way, white or French tips only. Her body had to be just right, tanned, waxed, and fit. He made comments about breast implants, her figure, even how she walked and talked. She wasn't just showing up. She was preparing for a performance. The first freak-off happened in Diddy's bedroom at his LA home. She didn't know the other man, only that he was paid to be there. She had taken ecstasy and drank before it started, trying to numb herself. Diddy directed everything: lighting, outfits, baby oil. He even made her wear masks and wigs. Felt more like a secret production than a real moment. Law experts believe Cassie could play a key role in how this trial turns out.
Cassie can talk about and identify the sex workers that may have been involved, identify the locations, because again, in order for this to be a federal case, you've got to cross state lines. So if you have to establish that these activities happened in New York, happened in Miami, happened in California, that you were forcibly transferred or had to travel to each of these different locations. So the videos are going to be important from that perspective. But again, I don't think everybody's going to sit there and, watch, sex tape after sex tape after sex tape and watch Cassie be, basically brutalized 10 different ways from sunrise. I don't see that happen, but I do see some snippets coming in. But I do got to say one more thing, because my inner prosecutor wants to go after what Brad said.
Yeah, I had a feeling Melba was going to have something to say about what Bradford was saying. So go on, Melba.
Yeah. But most importantly,
I think that Melba's bringing the velvet hammer to you.
Oh,
Bradford, not a velvet glove, a velvet hammer.
Melba's
So
fantastic.
go on,
She's
Melba.
always been fantastic. I welcome it.
Well, one thing I will say, first of all, is that sadly, I think all of us know people who have stayed in abusive relationships for a lifetime. And we know people that have died as a result of domestic violence relationships.
Cassie said one freak-off could include 3 or 4 sessions and sometimes lasted all night. Diddy decided when they began and when they ended. Eventually, they became a weekly routine. She used drugs like Molly, cocaine, and X just to get through them. She didn't say no, not because she wanted it, but because she didn't want to upset him. She said his eyes would go black when he was angry, and that scared her.
She said that she and her girlfriends, they went to Prince's party. Yes, the musician Prince. Diddy was there. He didn't know she was going to be there. He got angry, and she said, quote, "He beat me up." She said that after they broke up in 2018, that he raped her in her living room at her home. She also said that it wasn't just her, that one time he held one of her friends over the balcony on the 17th floor of her apartment in Los Angeles and hit another one of her friends with a wooden hanger.
And she lost that friendship. That was a best friend of 17 years she described, and then they don't communicate any longer. I'm curious to see how the prosecution might develop those connections a little bit more fulsomely.
I saw him drag an assistant out of bed. I saw him punch Eli in his head. One time in Turks and Caicos, he dragged a person. I believe we had a freak off in Turks and Caicos. What floor did you live on at Comstock? The 17th floor. Did a friend stay with you? Yes. Sean came and held her and threw her on the patio furniture out over the balcony. I saw Sean bring her back in from over the balcony, and then he threw her on the patio furniture. And Carrie Morgan, I saw Sean hit her in the head. Did you get substances on your own? Occasionally opiates. Sean would put pills in a vitamin C bottle on the sink in the New York apartment. He'd say, "You can take them." He had doctors who would write the scripts in his name of his assistant or in my name. Your brother's birthday party in Connecticut of 2013. What happened? My mother told me someone was taking pictures of me, and I went and punched her in the head. You testified that your relationship with Sean ended in 2018. How was your health? I was sleepwalking. I had PTSD. Defense rules objection. What is this? A photo of my front door in 2018. Publish it to the jury. Why is there a knife there? Sean was coming around a lot, so I had it. August of 2018, what happened? We have a closure conversation at a restaurant in Malibu. He was trying to convince me to go to Burning Man. Were you seeing anyone? My now husband, Alex Fine. What happened next? Sean came to my house and AR'd me on the living room floor. His eyes were black. It was like taking something from you. You cried? What did Sean do? He continued and finished inside of me and then got up and...
The only thing Cassie said she liked about the freak-offs was the one-on-one time she got with Diddy. But even then, she felt invisible, like she was just there to play a part. At one point, she tried to talk to him about how she felt. He brushed her off and called her predictable. There was even an email where Diddy asked, "Who you going to want to call someone?" He assumed she wanted to invite more people, but all she really wanted was to be with him. They wore disguises, masks, wigs, stripper heels, afraid of being recognized. These encounters happened in hotel rooms all across the country: New York, Miami, Vegas, even Turks and Caicos. Staff brought in everything: baby oil, candles, sometimes up to 10 bottles of oil in a single night. That's how often and intense it was.
I went back to his house. Can you explain why you did that after he R-worded you? We had been together for 10 years. Who did you stay in touch with? Most people, though I pulled away. What did you message Sean about after that? Just checking in. What did he send you? That he had iPads full of images. Get him his money. Money back for what? For having paid my now husband to be my trainer. What did you write back? Do you want me to tell you the truth? It's much deeper than iPads. There's abuse more than freak-offs. There was a time that I couldn't take my pain and I tried to walk out in traffic. My husband wouldn't let me. I had trauma therapy. Did you write? A book with chapters. My mom helped. What did you want with the book? That Sean read it. What pain did Sean put you through? Shame to carry the things that were shameful for him. I took on a lot of responsibility for that I never should have. He brought the concept to me when I was 22. It was expected of me, and I felt terrible. How did you get the chapters to Sean? Through my attorney, and I reached out to KK. I asked her if he read it. She said it was not taken seriously. How much did you ask for the book? $30 million. Did you sue? November 2023. Why are you testifying in this trial? I can't carry this anymore. What's wrong is wrong. I treated people like they were disposable. Escorts, anybody. How many freak-offs did you have with Sean? It's impossible to know.
In court, when Cassie talked about how it all made her feel, she finally broke down. She said she felt like nothing more than an object. And the worst part? She started to believe that this was all she was good for. Cassie said the freak-off rooms weren't just dark. They were designed like sets. Red, blue, and purple studio lights filled the rooms. It looked more like a music video than something for real people.
Sort of headshots of people, dozens that they have shown already, and they're trying to put that together. What we're still waiting to hear more from, including through the cross-examination, which they will definitely try to undermine, is to what extent Cassie herself was forced, coerced, threatened into sex trafficking, which must include her non-consent.
Combs' team will begin their cross-examination of Cassie Ventura tomorrow, which I'm sure she is dreading. What are you expecting from their cross?
They're going to have a strategy that takes into consideration optics. One of the things the defense didn't even want to do, they didn't want her to even walk down that center hallway as she passed by the jurors, visibly pregnant, to sit down and describe her life before she was a married woman with now 3 children expected, 2 already here with her. They're going to have to adapt in the sense of being straightforward, direct, but not allowing these jurors to conflate the yesterday Cassie Ventura with today. But I'll tell you, they have a hard task ahead of them in that sense, because as she was describing, Jake, the abuse at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs, including at one point saying that she had been kicked in the back, she moved her body to almost mimic that. The optics were real.
Take us inside the courtroom, Laura. What was Diddy Combs' demeanor while Cassie was testifying? Because I'm sure his attorneys told him to behave a certain way. Don't scowl at her, don't be angry. What did he do?
Oh, every defense counsel knows that every eye in that courtroom is on the defendant, trying to read every emotion, interpret every single look and glance. He kept his eyes trained on her throughout the testimony, often writing notes, however, to his counsel, leaning over, shifting in his seat, crossing and then recrossing his legs, and finally landing on a position where he held his hands, fingers intertwined, on his lap before adjusting again.